On this, our fifth Sunday of Lent, we are looking at the story of Lazarus, the raising of Lazarus from the dead. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to say that this is the story of Lazarus of Bethany. This is not the story of Lazarus, the poor man that was outside the gates talking with Father Abraham. The early church tried to conflate a lot of names. They thought, oh, well, this person have the same name, they must be the same story. That's why all six Marys have been condensed to just a couple. That's not accurate. That's not historians and scholars now recognize that these are two different people. So right away, we need to separate those two stories. This is the story of Lazarus of Bethany, and we know nothing about him except that he is the brother of Mary and Martha. So he's got a certain amount of community cachet. He's not a poor man, but we don't know anything about him. Younger? Is he older? Is he a provider of the house? Is he living there because of some other reason? Why did he die? We don't know anything about him. He doesn't even talk. So there's nothing we can tell you about who Lazarus is except that he died and that he has sisters that we've met before. And these are friends of Jesus. They've been friends of Jesus for quite some time. So the story goes that Jesus was somewhere else. Lazarus dies. Mary and Martha send word to Jesus to come and rescue, save their brother, preventing him from dying. And Jesus doesn't come. Jesus just stays. And the disciples are like, shouldn't we be doing something about this? And eventually, 3 days later, Jesus does come down to spend time with Mary and Martha and mourn with them about the death of Lazarus. Now, right in there's something really particular. In the culture of the day, this is one of the reasons Jesus also is dead for 3 days until he rises again, even though if you count the weekend, the numbers don't work. But the whole idea in that culture was that after 3 days, if there was no sudden return to life, so if remember, this is medical ability was not on par with ours at that point in time. So if the person they thought was dead was just in a coma or had fainted or there was something else going on, they gave a 3-day period before they expected that to change if it ever was going to. And if not, if after 3 days a person still had not revived, they were dead. Like dead, not coming back, dead. So that's why it's significant that Jesus stayed 3 days. That the miracle of raising Lazarus would not have been as significant if Jesus had just showed up, because then it would have been assumed, oh, he wasn't really dead, and the story has nowhere to go. So Jesus returns to Bethany, spends time with Mary and Martha, and they meet him, and they are angry. Very, very angry, because they have been followers. They have been house church leaders. Martha is. Mary's been a following disciple. They know what this is about. They know what he can do. They've watched him. They've done things with them. So they know, and they challenge him. Where were you? You could have been here with us. You could have prevented this. How could you let this go? And Jesus doesn't argue with them. He just stays there, and he takes it. And then he mourns with them. And we have the shortest sentence in the Bible saying Jesus cried. Now, I want to stay here at this point in time because most speakers on this story, and I've done it myself in the past, we rush on to Lazarus coming out and the miracle and the foreshadowing of Jesus' own death and rush past this whole bit in the middle that is so profoundly important. Here we have people being angry at Jesus, angry at God for what has happened, believing completely that God could have changed this and didn't. We need to stay in this moment rather than rush past it. This is probably the clearest example of people being angry with Jesus. We do see other examples, but we kind of have to dig around for it. But this is the clearest example. Where were you? I needed you. I asked for you. You needed to come. There was a time period in this, and you were not here when I needed you, when I was expecting you. How often have we said those words ourselves, especially if we've lost someone or if we've prayed really hard for something that hasn't happened, and we just turn to God? Where were you? Where were you? We believe you are all-powerful, omnipotent, Lord of all, Creator, you have the power to bring back life. It's hard. A lot of people state that anger is their place where they leave the church. And it's understandable, especially if you have developed a faith, or you've been encouraged to believe that in faith all things happen. I mean, we're actually told that. But the thing is that when it comes to death, all faith isn't going to stop it. Even if you have remission, or something happens to save you, eventually we're all going to go. That's just kind of what being human is. Jesus does not try to prevent something in this story. He just sits with. And this is where we really need to be a little bit with Christians. Jesus does not come in and make it all better instantly. That's number one. Number two is he doesn't come in and change it instantly. He doesn't go to the tomb immediately. He sits with the women. He listens to them being angry. He cries with them. He mourns with them. He misses his friend with them. Whatever happens later does not distract from the fact that God is present. When we're in mourning, when we are in loss, when we feel like we're at absolute end, how can this possibly happen? Why did this possibly happen? We tend not to want to linger on our anger at God. We want to give rationale, excuses, reasons. The one place we don't want to go is angry at God. We even tell each other, don't be angry at God about this. But why not? Why not show those emotions? If we really believe that God is in all places and all knowing, God already knows. That we're not rescuing God from our feelings. In fact, if anything, we're making ourselves worse by not expressing that. We've got a fantastic model here of how it can look to be angry when something happens, to be hurt when something happens, to be wondering why. Why did this happen? I remember years and years ago, not long after my mother died, in fact, that I was visiting a church, and the priest's wife actually said to me that if my mother had had more faith, she would not have died. Now, aside from being an absolutely horrible thing to say to a grieving woman, besides the fact that it was garbage theology, I could run upside and down the other with her with why she was wrong. But imagine the people who couldn't. The people who would listen to her, being a priest's wife, assuming that she knew what she was talking about. The audacity, quite frankly, of saying faith will prevent death. It doesn't. The most faithful people in the world, historically and here today, have died or will die. It's going to happen. None of us are guaranteed forever. To assume that death is linked with faith is absolutely atrocious. There is no connection there whatsoever. People of no faith survive. People of huge, incredible faith don't. There's no rhyme, no reason. There's no way to say A goes to B goes to C. It just doesn't happen that way. That pain is stuff that we can take to God. So Jesus shows us in this picture what it means to be with God in those moments, that God is with us. A few years ago, someone said to me of someone they knew, and they said, he died alone. And I had to say to her, no, he didn't. He died in love. He died with the Spirit around. She had to stop for a minute and think, and then she started to cry, and she said, no, you're right. We assume, because we are the ones who remain, that God is not present in any of it. And that's not the case. Not only is God there, but God is mourning with us. Jesus wept. Didn't argue, didn't do anything differently, just was present and wept. God was with Lazarus in those last minutes. God was with Mary and Martha as they struggled. God was with the community that came around them, trying to provide them with some support some reassurance, some comfort. God is with us, and God does not care how angry we get. God does not care if you're slamming doors and breaking furniture. In fact, years ago, I was watching a young man struggle with the death of his mother. He was just a teenager. So, a mutual acquaintance took him downstairs and he beat the heck out of a bunch of packing boxes. He needed to get that aggression out, that anger in the anger grief in physical form. He had to get it out. When we are hurting, there's absolutely no reason why we have to keep that from God. None. God's already part of it. We have to get over this a sense that we're protecting God from emotion. We're not good at accepting the humanity of God. We never have been. We're convenient with calling it incarnational theology, but we really don't want to accept God as capable of human emotions or willing to be there in the dark stuff and the hard stuff. It seems counterintuitive to us. But we have assurances, just like Mary and Martha did, that God was there with them. We want to rush to conclusion in this story, but don't. Sit with it. Sit in the middle of it. Look at your own faith. Look at your own mourning. It's okay to be angry and sad and not know what's next. And be reassured that in all those emotions, God is there and God understands. It's okay to be in that and not worry about tomorrow, but be in the moment now.